77 WABC and Bergen Newbridge Medical Center honor the life of legendary broadcaster and our friend, Ernie Anastas.
Hi, it's Ernie Anastas. You know, your thoughts can affect how you feel. Bergen Newbridge Medical Center is the largest hospital in New Jersey, providing comprehensive, equitable, compassionate, and high-quality emergency inpatient and outpatient medical care, plus mental health services and substance use disorder treatment. The Bergen Newbridge team can address your total health needs in one convenient location. Call 201-225-7130 for an appointment or newbridgehealth.org.
He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, well, let's go to Michael Rappaport, shall we? Because he has announced that he's going to run for mayor. I know it's 2029, kind of a long time from now, but this is the buyer's remorse that I've been talking about as far as Zohran Mamdani is concerned. And Rappaport, who was very, very vocal on social media, very staunchly pro-Israel, by the way, he's had enough already. So he goes on Chris Cuomo's show last night and says, all right, this is why I'm running against the Democratic communist that is Zohran Mamdani. Cut number 18. 18, go.
But in terms of the mayor 2029, I am running for mayor of New York City. I never thought that I would even consider running for mayor of New York City. And I will do it with the best intentions. And I won't do it the way any other political person has ever done it. Your brother, Cuomo, Kung Fu Curtis, Kathy Hochul, Obama, Trump. The only way to beat this guy is to make it and take it with a New York City street fight mentality. There's no way to out-nice him. There's no way to out-slick him. I think that he's the greatest bullcrapper in the history of politicians, and that's saying a lot. But New York City needs to do something. We need to plan right now because 2029 is around the corner. And yes, I'm running for mayor of New York City, and I will only drop out until I feel like there's somebody who's more qualified that could actually beat Zohran the moron.
Oh, so this is the thing now, right? Like Spencer Pratt, who we're going to talk about later, out in Los Angeles, may very well be the next mayor of Los Angeles. Michael Rappaport, actor, you know, hasn't done any really, really big roles. I guess, what was the biggest one? It was that movie with Gandolfini and Brad Pitt and, oh boy, long time ago. But anyway, it'll come to me. Kevin, help me out here. It wasn't Reservoir Dogs. It was that other one. Oh,
The Drop, I think.
What's that?
I think it was called The Drop, wasn't it?
No. This was a Tarantino movie. And
With Rappaport?
Yeah. He had a role. It wasn't a big role. But, oh boy, this is going to kill me. So obviously I'm going to look this up as I'm trying to just buy some time here. Michael Rappaport was with, it was a great cast, by the way. It was set in Los Angeles. I mean, the end was anyway. And it was, as I try
Money
to get
for
this
Nothing.
thing. No, True Romance. Thank you. True Romance. Quentin Tarantino, Tony Scott, played a struggling actor, introduces Christian. My mind is shot. I swear to God. Who is that young actor? Christian, what's his name? Don't say Bale. And basically a drug deal goes very bad. And I don't know why I'm going off on this, but the point is that this isn't like a big name at this point, Michael Rappaport, but he is very, very, he does go viral on social media. That's certainly for sure. And again, I don't think being an outsider with no political experience is a bad thing anymore. Look at Trump. Look at Pratt. Look at Mamdani, for that matter. I mean, even like a year and a half ago, have you ever even heard of this person? Like outside of the Mamdani family, has anybody ever heard of Zohran Mamdani? And he wins New York mayor. I think in the end, you're an outsider. You go about things differently. Maybe you got a shot. So there you go. First shots fired as far as Zohran Mamdani is concerned. Anyway, you got to hear this because this is very, very remarkable. Leo 2.0, my old friend Leo Terrell, who now works for the Trump administration, who from Fox doesn't work for the Trump administration. I'm like one of the few left over at the network, and I mean that in a good way. But at the same time, here is Leo He has a message for Zoran, and as usual, does not hold back. This is cut number 6. Go.
Hi, Leo Terrell, head of the Department of Justice Task Force to combat anti-Semitism. And let me be clear. I am sick and tired of Jews being harassed in New York City. Did you see what happened in Brooklyn? Where is the mayor? Where is the mayor? Where is the district attorney? Where are the hate crime charges? Jewish Americans are allowed the religious freedoms given by this great country. And Jewish Americans are not being protected in New York City. What happened last night in Brooklyn was outrageous, insulting. Mayor, district attorney, do your job. Protect Jewish Americans now, right now. God bless America.
He's so right about this. What happened in Brooklyn, where just some Jewish kids are trying to walk to a synagogue, and then suddenly all these maniacs, Islamic extremists, Zoran Memdani voters with Hezbollah and Hamas flags, chanting "Free Palestine," attack them, attack New York City police officers. And the mayor, awfully silent about this at this point. Just get back to before, because this really bothers me, because I am a film buff. But again, this movie came out in 1992, so I can be forgiven. It's 34 years old. Yes, True Romance, starring Michael Rappaport, among, now listen to this cast. It's really incredible. Christian Slater is who I'm thinking of. And boy, he had like a short little run that was spectacular in the early 90s, but we have not heard from Christian Slater since. Patricia Arquette. And then listen to this ensemble cast. Gary Oldman, Brad Pitt, Christopher Walken, Dennis Hopper, James Gandolfini. Whoa! I mean, it's a violent movie, don't get me wrong, but if you have nothing to do over the weekend, certainly that is worth watching. Meanwhile, Memdani is now doing this whole victory lap around, wow, he was able to make budget. He has now corrected all the financial woes in New York City. And all he did was take a bailout from Kathy Hochul from upstate, which means then everybody in New York gets to pay for this ridiculous budget that Memdani has. That's all he did. He didn't cut any spending. This is not some sort of John Nash mathematical genius that suddenly fixed all of the budget gaps, that New York City has. And he's taking these victory laps. Bernie Sanders is patting on the back as well. I'm sorry. This is not what's happening here. He got a bailout. That's all it is. It's really that simple. And this guy now is saying, yep, see, look what I did. Wow. I solved the budget crisis. Nope. You asked for money and Hochul was stupid enough to give it to you because she's desperate for a win. Meanwhile, James Comey of Allendale, New Jersey, is now praising the Biden Justice Department because they indicted Hunter. And the Trump Justice Department would never do that, would never indict the son of a president. There's only one little problem with this argument. Anyway, here's cut number 17. Go.
Expect Republicans, I know there's a lot trapped in the cult of MAGA, to step back and say, whoa, what if that shoe is on the other foot? How would that be? It would be awful, no matter who's being targeted.
What would you, someone might hear that, I can hear a Trump attorney now saying, well, they did go after him, when he was out of office, and they did indict him. What would you say to that defense?
Take a step back and look at the cases, look at the work they did. And remember this, the Biden Justice Department indicted the president's son. Can you imagine that happening today? Honestly, while you're shaving MAGA supporter in the mirror, look in the mirror and say, could that happen today? And the answer is no, which is a really bad thing. You're such an idiot. I mean, what an a-hole James Comey is. And of course, runs to CNN, gets a nice sympathetic interview with Caitlin Collins. They indicted Hunter Biden because they had no choice. It was overwhelming, the evidence, as far as tax evasion, as far as lying on a gun application. It's not something they could have hidden. But they knew all along, because they were told by the president himself, speculation on my part, but I have a feeling that was the case, that don't worry, go ahead with this. Make it look like your Justice Department, Biden's Justice Department, is independent of the president, and we will indict people in the name of truth, in the name of justice.
and the American way. And I am sure they knew and were told that, don't worry, before I leave office, I will make sure that my son is pardoned completely and totally. Preemptively, by the way, dating back years and years and years, so he can never, ever, ever go to jail for all the illegal things that he did. And it wasn't just tax evasion. It wasn't just the gun application. Those deals overseas in Ukraine, China, Russia, come on. What are we talking about here? And then sure enough, Biden, after over and over again saying that he absolutely, positively will never pardon his son, ended up pardoning his son. Of course he did. He's a Biden. That's what Joe Biden does. He's a pathological liar and narcissist. I don't want to hear like, oh, gentle old man who lost his memory. No, no, no. He's a bad person. The family is bad, especially Hunter Biden. So for James Comey to say, well, look at, isn't that amazing that the Biden Justice Department actually indicted Hunter Biden? Well, yeah, fixed fight all along, people, and you know it. But nevertheless, there's Comey when he isn't spelling out assassination attempts in seashells on a beach, is running to CNN and thinking that anybody likes this guy. Democrats and Republicans both hate him for various reasons, and that's that. Meanwhile, Tucker Carlson has been saying a lot of things lately where it's kind of a problem that he says one thing and then comes back and says that he never said it. Like saying that, oh boy, Donald Trump is the Antichrist. And then he gets the tape literally played back to him and said, why did you call Trump the Antichrist? And he said, those words never left my lips, even though a tape was literally played of him saying that. Well, here are some more that you may not have heard. This is cut number 19. Go.
You said in our previous interview, the future that I imagine is not a future in which we're yelling at each other about race. It's a future in which people are legitimately revolutionary, maybe even violent.
I'm amazed that you have a tape of me saying that, and I just want to disavow it. A lot of young men in America, mostly white, but not exclusively, listen to Nick Fuentes really carefully. This kid is the single most influential figure among young white men, and not just white, actually.
Is that true?
Oh, it's definitely true. Of course, half the thing was about Fuentes, and like, who cares? Fuentes?
There was a lot of Fuentes.
Who cares about Fuentes? Talk about irrelevant.
America's supporting Israel because it's an ally.
I don't even know what those words mean. I'm just saying my principle
they're
is
an ally, right? I mean, they both...
I don't know what that means to be an ally.
Qatar is like one of our closest allies in the world. The largest American air base in the Middle East is in Qatar. They're a close ally of ours.
I come to Israel and the infrastructure, we were flying in, and I said to my buddy, I was like, man, first of all, looks great. I love the agriculture in Israel because it's beautiful. I love green. I love plants.
I remember when it didn't look like that.
Yeah.
First time I came here 53 years ago.
It's great. Israel, which is one of the single ugliest countries in the world. Nothing of beauty has been built there since 1948. Sorry, I've been everywhere in that country, and it's true.
I mean, that's almost pathological at this point. And again, I used to go on Tucker Show all the time. He came across as a nice guy. I was never in the same studio with him on a couple of occasions, maybe 2 or 3 times. But you just hear that sort of montage where he says one thing and then the complete opposite and then denies ever saying it. I don't know. I don't know what happened to the guy. I just don't. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night, and we have so much more, I promise you, in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Did you know that St. Luke's University Health Network, based in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, has been recognized by the U.S. government as the highest performing health system in the United States for quality? You heard right. St. Luke's #1 recognition affirms our status as the top leader among the most respected healthcare providers in the nation, including Houston Methodist and the Mayo Clinic. To state it simply, if you want to receive the best care when you go to a hospital, come to St. Luke's.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. So, ABC News has a program, not called Nightline. Well, they do, sure. They've had other decent news programs in the past, but Well, that's the past. The future is now The View, which is under the ABC News umbrella. And Whoopi Goldberg apparently is very, very concerned that, well, there's no one really running the country, and she's really freaked out by it, which is ironic on about a billion levels. This is cut number 8. Go.
We have been deballed.
We have no balls?
As a nation, I feel.
Oh,
because we are
nationist.
I thought my description was
Deballed is lovely.
Yes,
I just
it was
didn't know if you
just
meant
clear.
castrated.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing.
Okay.
I don't have them, but I know it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Well,
but the
debatable.
idea that no one is in charge freaks me out.
Where were you from 2021 to 2025? The AutoPen administration, Joe Biden, who, again, on that show over and over again, they'd be like, boy, this guy, he has the athletic prowess of Jackson Dart, meets the mental acumen of, I don't know, John Nash. I mean, they defended Biden over and over again. No one was running the country, literally, when Biden was so-called in charge. It's a bunch of faceless people that we don't know who is running it. Who is it? Susan Rice? Jerry Rice? Ray Rice? Donna Rice? Who is running the country? Some sort of Rice. And that's not good. So when they say this stuff, it's just so, I just wish they could put one person on there that remotely challenges this stuff. They had it with Meghan McCain. Meghan's a friend. I admit it. All right. But it has nothing to do with my analysis here. That's when the show was somewhat interesting, when someone would push back. And now it just doesn't happen. And you get to say this stuff over and over again. Meanwhile, this is utterly funny, actually, on some level. Here you have Mike Johnson, the current House Speaker. And you have Hakeem Jeffries going off on, boy, what Republicans are doing with this redistricting. It's horrible. Until you realize that, wow, there are states where there is no Republican representation, despite the fact that Republican presidential candidates, for example, get more than 40% in the vote in those particular states. Anyway, Johnson lays it out, and this is quite good, I have to say. Cut number 16, go.
We find it amusing that Democrats are suddenly concerned about fair congressional representation, they say. And I challenge those Democrats to raise those concerns with the Republican congressmen from Massachusetts, Connecticut, or Rhode Island. They'll have a hard time doing that, of course, because Democrats have gerrymandered Republicans completely out of those states. And in Virginia last week, the Virginia Supreme Court, of course, affirmed what Republicans believed from the very beginning. We fought hard to win that ballot initiative, and we invested there. But ultimately, we knew that it was a hastily drawn gerrymander that was unconstitutional. It was a power grab.
Precisely. Unconstitutional. We'll talk more about Hakeem Jeffries' reaction to this because the guy's lost his mind. And this is a guy who is not apologizing for saying there needs to be maximum warfare against Trump, against Republicans. And now he is saying that if they take back power, they will crush their souls. Exactly what he said. And when you talk like this, before we go to break, Washington Post poll out today, 42% of Democrats believe the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt on President Trump was staged. That's nearly half. Staged. And Republicans are accused of conspiracy theories. This is out of control. 42% of Democrats believe the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt on Trump was staged. That's screwed up. You really have to be very, very out there, completely and totally, and not sane to believe something like that. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. Back with so much more in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
A little more from The View, shall we? This is this ABC News program now saying that Trump, who only says that we need more babies to be born in this country because there's a big child population problem happening right now. In 1965, nearly 3 children were born per household, 2.7, something like that. And now it's barely over 1. That's a big problem. When you don't have the family structure, when you don't have a younger generation to take over for the older generation when they retire, that's a really, really big problem from an economic perspective. But overall, just the American family of 2, 3, 4 my colleague Rachel Campos-Duffy, 9 kids, right? Well, people that have a lot of kids tend to be happier. That's what we've seen. And The View is saying that, well, no, actually Trump wants to have more babies because he's trying to add white nationalists to the whole roster of citizens or something. I mean, again, insanity. Cut number 1, go.
Go ahead. I'll just quickly say, because I think everyone's making great points. I think 2 things can be true at the same time. I think that the intent can be questioned behind these new Trump policies. There was no acknowledgement of the black maternal mortality crisis because black women die at a much higher rate than any other demographic. Than any other demographic. And he doesn't seem to be, this administration is not concerned about that. I think it's true that he wants Trump babies, which implies he wants American-born white children.
He wants toddler white nationalists.
That may be part of the intent.
Toddler white nationalists. You hear this stuff? Jay Jones said the same thing. Who's he? Attorney General, Virginia. Wished death on his Republican opponents, said he would piss on their graves, and then called the kids 2 and 3 years old of his biggest political opponent, who was a Republican, little white Nazis. This is all in text. It's not like, he said, she said. Oh, and then said that those kids, because they're Nazis, deserve to die in their mother's arms. And this guy still got elected as the top cop of Virginia. And then when you hear this stuff on The View, yeah, that's why he got elected. More and more Democrats like to hear this sort of rhetoric. They like this stuff. This is what they want. And I talked about it before, but let's get to it, shall we? Hakeem Jeffries is really, really angry about that illegal gambit that they tried in Virginia in redistricting a state to 10-1 Democrat, a state that Kamala Harris won by 5 points. And the way they went about it was completely and totally unconstitutional. And the Virginia Supreme Court, which isn't stacked with Republicans or anything like that, ruled against it based on the law. Well, here's Hakeem knowing that, boy, he's in big trouble, that if they don't take back the House, he's going to be ousted as the leader of the party in Congress, right? This is his last chance, and he sounds more and more desperate, certainly for sure. Cut number 13, go.
Republicans have concluded that they need to cheat to win. That's what they're celebrating? Is that what you're elevating right now?
Cheat?
The notion that 4 unelected judges would overturn the votes of more than 3 million citizens in Virginia? Is this what Republicans are celebrating right now? Because the people in Virginia right now are outraged. They're angry and they're determined.
When you think of garbage, think of Hakeem.
Thank you for that, Kevin. Well done. Oh, by the way, and you could add that again, Kevin, if you like, after this soundbite. Cut number 14. Again, not just like, hey, we're going to take back the country, we are going to have a positive path forward, literally says that it's time to crush souls. If you're Hakeem, when you think of garbage, think of Hakeem. Cut number 14, go.
We will beat the far-right extremists. We're going to win in November, and then we're going to crush their souls.
When you think of garbage, think of Hakeem.
Thank you. We're going to play that every day, I think. Brooklyn's own, Brooklyn's finest, Hakeem Jeffries. Meanwhile, out in California, I know I've been talking about this a lot, but I really think we're seeing something that is, in terms of politics, in terms of messaging, in terms of campaign ads, we have never seen a candidate like this come out of nowhere to the point where he, as a Republican, could win the mayor's race in Los Angeles. I still think he's an underdog to a certain extent because there's a lot of built-in mechanisms and power in California that are hard to overcome, particularly unions who will vote exactly the way they're told. Meanwhile, Karen Bass, obviously rattled by these ads because, again, there was supposed to be a second debate between Pratt and Bass on Tuesday, and she backed out. It was that bad, that debate they had last week, where 89% of those who were surveyed by NBC Los Angeles said that Pratt won the debate. 89%. Never, ever have we seen a number like that before. Even J.D. Vance and Tim Walz, which was clearly and totally a demolition by Vance over Walz, didn't come close to that number. And again, this is Los Angeles, where he's getting 89% approval on a debate performance. So Bass backs out. Now she's going after the ad saying that, oh my, these are really hateful. And because I'm being demonized, it may lead to violence against me or something. Cut number 9, go.
But what's worrying me now is that his social media is now taking on a violent turn. And that worries me, because when you do that, and when your messages are so hateful, or when you demonize people, then you do provoke people who are unstable, and you can jeopardize people's safety.
You mean like the throwing of the tomatoes?
Well, the throwing of the tomatoes, which look like blood, or drowning me and the governor in a reservoir.
Tomatoes.
But there's also other violent scenes. And so I've noticed that that it's taking on a violent trend.
Oh, it's mockery. That's all it is. Tomatoes. Yeah, tomatoes look like blood. No, maybe just people were throwing tomatoes at you, because that's what they do in theater, for example. When you put on a horrible performance, they throw tomatoes at the actors. And that's all that was. Man, I mean, we are seeing somebody, again, she's at 25% approval. 25. There is an overwhelming amount of undecided voters. And Pratt doesn't come across as a Republican. He comes across as a guy who wants to fix things, who lost his home in those wildfires in the Palisades. His parents lost their home as well. And his ads clearly are taking out this really like bad version of Kamala Harris. Like, you think Kamala Harris is a bad version of herself, and then we somehow have a worse one in Los Angeles where, oh, by the way, Kamala, of course, has endorsed Karen Bass. Meanwhile, she's talking about how the ads are so hateful, it may lead to violence. Like, we can't have rhetoric like this, except, well, this is what she sounded like just a couple months ago on CNN. Cut number 11, go.
They are trying to dial us back to the 1940s, and that is a tragedy for the American people.
The 1940s, like Nazi Germany 1940s? Because when you call somebody a Nazi enough, there are enough people out there who would think, wow, if I had the chance to take out Hitler in the 1940s, would I do it? And sure enough, there have been not one, not two, but 3 assassination attempts against President Trump. And she's talking about how, wow, we have to dial down the rhetoric because Spencer Pratt's campaign ads, which are mockery and funny, quite frankly, are going to lead to violence. Well, when you compare the current administration to, fascists, to the Nazis, that also can lead to that. And there's proof of that because, again, 3 assassination attempts where Vladimir Zelensky, again, the president of Ukraine, with Russians in the country, with assassins trained to kill him, has not faced any assassination attempts. And Trump has faced 3. So just to put that in perspective for a moment. Now, Bass's new proposal in LA is, well, when you take meth, you lose your teeth. And we need to have comprehensive health reform to give all the meth users out here free teeth, because you can't do anything in this world without teeth. I mean, this is the insanity that Spencer Pratt is pointing out, and this is why he is surging right now. Cut number 12, go.
How many people who are unhoused that you meet have no teeth at all? They don't have teeth. Why? Because meth rots your teeth. You can't succeed without teeth. So there needs to be comprehensive health care provided to people.
Oh, okay. So they destroy their lives through drugs, and then the taxpayer has to pay to replace their teeth. I don't know. Just got a bill from my dentist recently, and it's not pretty. Again, just give away free stuff, and maybe you'll get elected. That is the whole gambit right now for Democrats, whether it's in New York, Seattle, and obviously Los Angeles. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
This is kind of funny, actually. I mean, this is great. And I love the whole 1 minute and 43 seconds of this. Kash Patel, the FBI director, was being grilled by Senator Van Hollen of Maryland. You remember this guy, right? The guy who met with the MS-13 gangbanger, the guy who beat his wife per, the wife in court documents, the guy who probably was a human trafficker. He's on trial for that, but the evidence is overwhelming. Abreu Garcia. Yes, that's his name. Van Hollen went down to El Salvador, where this Garcia was deported to because obviously we can't have people like this in our country. Oh, by the way, he entered illegally way back when from there. And Van Hollen went down there and was so sympathetic and actually had margaritas with the guy. And this was all actually photographed, which, again, should be disqualifying to be a senator at that point. But, it's a 6-year term and it's Maryland and it's deep blue. So he'll probably keep his job as long as he wants it. Anyway, Van Hollen now, this is the new thing with Democrats. They accuse members of the Trump administration of being alcoholics, whether that be Pete Hegseth. And with Pete, the allegations against him, which were echoed by CNN, by the way, that Pete used to show up to work drunk on Fox and Friends weekend. I was on that show on a very regular basis. Got to know Pete pretty well. His wife, Jen, I used to work for, actually. And every time I was just amazed at the energy that show with Will Cain and Pete and Rachel Campos Duffy, you got to do 4 hours straight of morning news, which means doing a lot of different stuff. You go from interviewing a high-ranking politician, even the president for that matter, to doing cooking segments, to doing dunk tanks, to racing go-karts, you got to do a lot of things to be a morning host and to be entertaining in doing it. I remember Pete and Will actually swam in the Hudson River for some sort of charity, like when it wasn't very warm either, by the way. But, Pete's former military, Will's in excellent shape. My point is that you can't show up to a show like that, remotely even hungover, let alone drunk. And the fact that Democrats were pushing that lie was really a whole bowl of wrong. And I think Pete Hegseth, ever since then, as defense secretary, has shown time and again, whether we're talking about Venezuela, whether we're talking about Iran, certainly capable and then some for the job. But they went after Pete. Now they're going after Kash Patel because I guess he celebrated with the Olympic team after they won gold. And he chugged a beer. Okay, that's fine. All right, we beat Canada. No one thought that could happen. Jack Hughes, New Jersey Devils, USA, golden goal. All right, good for him. Have a little fun. But here's Van Hollen going off on Kash Patel and Kash Patel giving it right back. And this is the type of stuff. I know these hearings are pointless because nothing ever gets accomplished and no one is actually interested in the truth, especially Democrats who just want to fundraise off this stuff. But this back and forth is awesome. Cut number 7, go.
Multiple reports, including reporting by The Atlantic, have alleged episodes of excessive drinking, unexplained absences, and behavior that concern current and former FBI and DOJ officials. You have publicly denied those allegations and filed a defamation lawsuit. So today, as you testify before Congress, is it your testimony that those allegations are categorically false?
Unequivocally, categorically false.
So there have been no occasions during your tenure when FBI personnel were unable to promptly reach you?
Absolutely not. You can ask my entire workforce. They hear from me at every single hour of the day, as do these great gentlemen here, as do the men and women of the interagency and state and local law enforcement and the White House.
And so there have been no occasions when your security detail had difficulty waking or locating you. Is that right?
Nope, it's a total farce. I don't even know where you get this stuff, but it doesn't make it credible because you say so.
I'm not saying it, Director Patel. It's been written and documented.
You are literally saying it.
No, I'm saying that these are reports, Director Patel.
No, and unlike your baseless reports, the only person that was slinging margaritas in El Salvador on the taxpayer dollar with a convicted gangbanging rapist was you. The only person that ran up a $7,000 bar tab in Washington, D.C. at the lobby bar was you.
This
so the only individual in this room that has been drinking on
true.
Taxpayer dime during the day is you.
Director Patel, come on. These are serious allegations that were made against you. They're
allegations
a lawsuit
are
that
false.
you filed.
You drinking margaritas with a gangbanger true and on video.
It just goes to show you
running a $7,000 bar tab at the lobby bar has been filed by your own office.
This goes to show
drink during the day. That's you.
Perfect. And it's all true, by the way. The margaritas thing, the gangbanger rapist, yeah, that's on video. There are photographs. And yes, there is a $7,000 bar tab that Chris Van Hollen, Senator of Maryland, ran up. And it's documented. Documented literally like there's a receipt. What Van Hollen is accusing Kash Patel of is a piece in The Atlantic, which is profoundly liberal, based on all anonymous sources, again, alleging XYZ against Kash Patel and some sort of drinking problem. Where, again, there isn't one person that could go on the record to say, yeah, I have proof. There isn't any video, any evidence whatsoever. You throw the allegation out and then just hope that everything, goes from there. And that's what Democrats depend on from our media, is to throw stuff out like Russia collusion, for example, and then pretend that the gossip is actually gospel. And again, that's a whole bowl of wrong. Meanwhile, you're going to love this because it encapsulates everything as far as Democrats, when they actually have to sit down and do an interview with a normal journalist, and there are very few left. I get that completely. It's an anomaly to find somebody who does their job. But I think on the local news level, we're seeing it to a certain extent because they're not the type of people who are going to go viral. They're not there to get on Colbert or Kimmel like Jake Tapper begs to do, and Nicole Wallace, all these people. So maybe they still do their jobs as journalists should. And in this case, KTLA, which is the NBC affiliate in Los Angeles, tries to do an interview with Becerra, who's running for governor, Javier Becerra, excuse me. And this is so typical, where Becerra tries to set the rules for the interview before it even happens. And again, it's like, you're not going to ask me any questions that I, deem to be uncomfortable. I mean, this is the type of thing that really could derail his chances as far as being a guy who could get to the general election against Steve Hilton, probably on the Democratic side. This is cut number 20. Go.
This is the start of our interview with Javier Becerra in Highland Park.
By the way, this is a profile piece. This is not a gotcha piece, right?
Well, look, I think these questions are fair. It's in order to learn about you as a candidate.
So long as it's about the profile.
I don't know how you define profile, but I'd like to begin the interview.
The way I describe profile is you talk about all the things that I've done, things I want to do, and along with some tough questions. But not only tough questions.
But not only tough questions. I want easy questions also. Do you understand? You're the media. You're supposed to prop me up, not actually hold me accountable. He worked in the Biden administration. Is there anybody remotely competent that was in that administration? I'm going to go through Pete Buttigieg, Jennifer Granholm, who's head of energy, Mayorkas, in charge of the border, Vice President Harris. You can go down the line. You want to talk about the worst administration in history. That has to be it, by a country mile. Anyway, we're back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time on WABC and on stations around the country. Until then, I got 2 words for you. Bye-bye.